Alright, so I'm going to be showing you how I would operate the Toft room, or O28. So let's walk in and get it all started. Alright, first off, as I come into the room, the lights hopefully will be turned on, and we need to power the room. So I'm going to come to the ISO rack here beside the console, open up the case, and turn on the power strip, the Atlas power strip. Make sure that you do not hit the power supply button for the Toft. You can tell by looking at the lights on the console. If it lights up, that means, hey, look, a mute light came on. If the mute light doesn't come on when you hit a button, then you know the console is off. Alright, at which point the power supply inside the ISO rack here is off. Alright, but it's on. So we're going to close this back up because I know we need to have Pro Tools or our multi-track recorder up and running. I'm going to go ahead and log in. Perhaps. Alright. Logging in. And while the computer is coming up, I'm going to go over and turn on the JBL speakers. They receive power when the main switch is hit on the board, well, for the room, but they themselves do not turn on automatic. So there we go. Alright. Taking stock. What do we need? Well, over in the studio, I have already hooked up a sound source, my iPod, plugged in a AT4050, and I have got that running into input 1, or on the mic panel number 1. So that should be coming through my console hopefully now. But hey, look, my computer's up and running, so I'm going to go ahead and start up Pro Tools. Alright, starting up Pro Tools. Alright, right now I have create a blank session, fine and dandy. I'm going to check the session parameters. 24-bit 48K, a little over the top for me and what we need to do, but we'll leave it alone. Now my I/O settings, very important. I'm going to find the one for the Toft. Make it straight away right. What shall we name our session? Very important to name the session. We'll call this How KB Uses the Toft. Alright, I'm going to create for myself a brand new audio track, mono, and there it is. What shall we name it? We'll call it iPod. Okay, it has an input of 1 and an output of 1 and 2. I'm going to change the output so it is just a single 1. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and record arm that and input monitor. Input monitor, I don't know, I get in the habit of doing that. Alright, so my microphone out in the studio realm is an AT4050. You should know by now that that is a condenser. It requires phantom power. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on phantom power. I'm going to take my channel 1 and bring the level for my channel fader all the way up. Right? I'm seeing signal, but not a whole lot. I need to adjust my trim so that my meters over in Pro Tools land read exactly what I think they should be, and in my world I want those to be extremely hot. Okay. Alright, so let's take a quick look at my channel strip here. Okay, at the top is my 48 volts. That's my trim. I have an EQ section, aux send section, a monitor section, and then my channel fader with its left-right panning, and my routing matrix down here at the bottom. Right. Do I want to hear the microphone signal going into the stereo bus? No, I do not. Like I've said before, make sure you always monitor what you are recording. All right? Now the Toft has a strange peculiarity about it, and it is this section, the monitor section. They present this board as a inline board, and they try to market it as such, but it really is not. To me, an inline board has the ability of flip-flopping these. Yes, the Toft can do that, but when you change this to be the channel fader, it does not actually route to the multitrack, and that's the big difference. So, signal coming through the channel, leaving Pro Tools by means of the channel fader through direct out of the board, it automatically goes into Pro Tools input number 1 from channel 1. Where does it come back? Well, it comes back on the monitor input, and the monitor fader is right here. So if I start to turn up the monitor fader and then come over to my main stereo bus fader, my master fader, I should start to see signals bumping up and down on my master meters. And now I can turn up my monitor level and hear it come through the speakers. All right. Now, that gives me a monitor mix for my own room, control room. So if I manipulate the monitor fader, I should be able to change its level. If I wanted to mute it, I can. If I want to pan it left or right, I can. But what about giving my talent a Q mix? Well, my aux section is always dedicated to the channel fader until I hit this little green button that says take aux 5 and 6 and grab it and bring it into the monitor pathway, at which point now aux send 5 and aux send 6 belong to the monitor pathway. Now to generate a Q mix, I need to make sure that my aux sends become Q sends, so I engage the pre buttons for these two guys and turn up the levels. Aux 5 represents the left headphone feed, aux 6 represents the right headphone feed. Now if I mute this out, it's not going to affect what goes out into the headphones. Pre-fade, pre-fader, and then these pre-buttons would make it post-fader, right? I want them to be pre-fade. So from the aux sends going across the board, we come into the master section and we have aux send masters way up here at the top, at which point I'm going to turn those up to a healthy level, right? So back at my channel, right? My monitor mix is coming off of this guy. This is my level feeding into Pro Tools. Pro Tools monitor mix, right? Headphone feed, aux 5 and 6. If I look over at the headphones distribution system, I should see that there's green lights flashing over on 15 and 16 of my AN16i. You can also in this room look at the central station. It has levels coming on its meters. Final thing I need to worry about is how do I actually talk to my talent in the booth? Well, I have a talkback microphone built into the console. I want to give myself some level for the actual talkback microphone, and then if and when I press this talk to auxes button, my voice should go into all of the aux sends, including 5 and 6, which will allow my voice to be carried into the Q mix. Alright? So that is presenting the Toft in its simplest form. Notice I've made no patches and everything's working. Okay? Now, many people do not like using the board in this fashion, at which point I have other ways of making this happen that might seem easier or more difficult. So let's try it again in a different way. I'm actually going to take the board and split it somewhere arbitrarily and say, here's where my microphones get powered, channel pathway, and I'm going to use another channel to be the monitor pathway. Alright, because I have the microphone plugged into number 1 already, I'm going to leave that alone. But I'm going to make the monitor pathway come back somewhere else. Because who likes working with crazy little rotary knobs as a monitor mix? Nobody likes it. Alright, so no more monitor pathway on channel 1. Let's make it come somewhere else. Well, I'm going to choose a different output inside of Pro Tools. Instead of the track outputting on number 1, I'm going to say, hey, arbitrarily, let's just pick number 9. Alright, so input of 1, output of 9. Input of 1, output of 9. Now when I look at my board, I should be seeing signal up here on the meters for number 9. Look at that. Alright, how do I get the monitor input, which would typically be coming in on this purple fader, to show up down here on the main fader? Well, I come up to the top of the channel and I engage this IP reverse, the black button, and the line button. At which point now I can bring up my channel fader. I can route it to my left-right bus, and boom, there he is inside my control room, right? How about that Q mix for my talent? Well, all I need to do is take my aux send 5 and 6s, engage them to be pre, turn the level up for them, right? Aux sends go over to my aux masters. Aux masters will kick it out to my headphone system, which is on the AN16i over there, and the central station. Talk back level, talk to auxes, life is good. Alright? So, to repeat, microphone's coming in on channel 1, being fed from the console off of channel 1 into Pro Tools. From Pro Tools, I've kicked it back out to the board onto channel 9. Channel 9, I've got input reverse, line input, channel fader, left right assign, gets into my stereo bus. My Q send is derived off of aux sends 5 and 6, which are engaged to be pre, so now they're Q sends. Q sends go into my Q masters. Q masters go out into the AN16i for headphone distribution. Easy, just like that.